Little girl calls 911 and says, "I just close my eyes and wait." Officer looks at her pants and panics. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The emergency call center was quiet that Tuesday afternoon when Sarah Miller's headset crackled to life. After 8 years as a dispatcher, she could usually predict the nature of a call within seconds. Panicked adults reporting accidents, elderly folks with medical emergencies, the occasional prank from teenagers. But this call was different. 911, what's your emergency? Sarah's voice carried its practiced calm. Silence filled the line, then came a small voice, barely audible. "Hello? Is someone there?" Sarah leaned forward, adjusting her volume. "Hi." The voice was soft, unmistakably a child's. "I need help, please." Sarah's training kicked in immediately. "Hi." "There, sweetheart, I'm Sarah. What's your name?" "Lily." A pause. "Lily Jensen." "How old are you, Lily?" 6.5. Pride momentarily strengthened the tiny voice. Sarah typed quickly, signaling for a call trace. "Are you hurt, Lily? Is there an adult with you who needs help?" "No, I'm lone." The girl's stomach growled loudly enough to be picked up by the phone. "He didn't come today, so I just closed my eyes and waited." Sarah felt a chill despite the office's warmth. "Who didn't come, sweetie?" "The man who brings food sometimes when Grandma Edna has her foggy days." Through gentle questioning, Sarah pieced together that Lily was alone in the house, hadn't eaten since yesterday, and her elderly grandmother had gone somewhere but hadn't returned. The child's matter-of-fact tone was more alarming than tears would have been. "I'm going to send a police officer to help." "You, Lily. He's very nice. His name is Officer Matt. Will he be mad at me for using the phone? Grandma says it's only for big emergencies." "No, honey, you did exactly the right thing." Officer Matt Rogers was finishing his shift when the call came through. At 28, he was still considered a rookie by department standards, often assigned to welfare checks that senior officers considered a waste of time. But something in the dispatcher's voice made this case different. Driving through the quiet Oak Ridge neighborhood, Matt reviewed what little information he had. 6-year-old. Alone. Elderly guardian missing, possible neglect situation. Probably nothing. Maybe Grandma went to the pharmacy and got delayed. Still, the girl's cryptic words about closing her eyes and waiting nagged at him. The Jensen house looked unremarkable. A small bungalow with faded blue paint and neatly trimmed hedges. Nothing suggested trouble from the outside. Matt knocked, announcing himself as police. The door opened just a crack, revealing a small face framed by tangled brown hair. Lily Jensen was tiny for 6, with wide eyes that seemed to take up half her face. She wore mismatched clothes, pajama bottoms, and a t-shirt that had seen better days. "Hi there, Lily. I'm Officer Matt. May I come in?" She nodded solemnly, opening the door wider. The house was tidy, but had the stillness of a place rarely disturbed by visitors. Matt noticed the empty refrigerator door hanging open. Chair pushed against the counter where small fingerprints marked the cabinet doors. "My tummy hurts a lot," Lily said matter-of-factly, "but I'm being brave like Grandma Edna taught me." As she moved toward the couch, Matt noticed the slight wince, the way she held herself carefully. Something wasn't right here. When she sat down, he spotted the stain on her pants and the way she shifted uncomfortably. "Lily?" he asked gently, crouching to her eye level. "Can you tell me where Grandma Edna is?" "She went to get her special medicine yesterday." Lily's fingers twisted in her shirt hem. "Sometimes she forgets what day it is." Matt's heart sank as he realized this 6-year-old had likely been alone for nearly 24 hours. But it was her next words that truly chilled him. "It's okay, though," she whispered, eyes downcast. "I know what to do when nobody comes. I just close my eyes and wait for the scary to be over." Matt kept his expression neutral despite the alarm bells ringing in his mind. In his 3 years on the force, he'd learned that children watch adults' reactions carefully. Right now, Lily needed calm, not concern. "When was the last time you had something to eat, Lily?" he asked, keeping his voice light. She thought for a moment, her small forehead wrinkling. Yesterday morning, Grandma made cereal before her hands got too shaky. Would it be okay if I made you a sandwich while we wait for Grandma to come back? Lily nodded eagerly, following him to the kitchen. Matt surveyed the sparse contents of the refrigerator. A half-empty jar of peanut butter, some bread that had seen better days, and a nearly empty gallon of milk that was still good. As he prepared a simple sandwich, he noticed how Lily watched his every move with fascination. You? Cut it in triangles, she observed. Grandma always does squares. Would you like me to cut it differently? No, she said, reaching for the plate. Triangles are special. While Lily ate, Matt took the opportunity to look around more carefully. The house was modest but clean, with faded furniture that had been well maintained. Photos lined the walls, mostly of Lily at different ages and an elderly woman Matt assumed was Grandma Edna. No recent pictures of parents or other relatives were visible. The bathroom and kitchen were tidy, though Matt noticed concerning details. Prescription bottles with labels too worn to read, past due notices hidden beneath a stack of mail, a handwritten reminder system that suggested someone was struggling to keep track of daily tasks. Most telling was the calendar on the refrigerator, marked with doctor's appointments and reminders in shaky handwriting. Lily school. Take blue pills. Call Jessica? Several days had question marks drawn through them, as if the writer couldn't remember if tasks had been completed. Matt called dispatch to check if any hospitals or care facilities had admitted an Edna Collins or Edna Jensen in. No. The last 24 hours. Nothing. He was contemplating his next move when the front door opened. A woman in her mid-70s entered, struggling with 2 small grocery bags. Her silver hair was neatly pinned back, but her clothes showed signs of having been worn for several days. When she spotted Matt, her eyes widened in alarm. Who are you? Where's Lily? Fear made her voice sharp. Grandma! Lily ran to the woman, wrapping arms around her waist. This is Officer Matt. I called the special number because my tummy hurt and you didn't come back. The elderly woman's expression transformed from fear to guilt in an instant. She set down her bags and embraced Lily before looking up at Matt with apprehension. I'm Edna Collins, Lily's great-aunt, she said, straightening herself with dignity despite her obvious fatigue. I must have lost track of time. Matt introduced himself, explaining Lily's call. As they spoke, he noticed how Edna squinted to see him clearly, how she seemed momentarily confused about what day it was. I just went to pick up my prescription, Edna explained, though her shopping bags contained only bread and soup cans. My friend Martha was supposed to check on Lily, but there must have been a misunderstanding. As Edna unpacked her meager groceries, her hands trembled visibly. Twice she stopped mid-sentence, seemingly lost in her thoughts before continuing on a different topic entirely. Matt helped put away the groceries, asking casual questions about their living situation. Edna's answers were vague but revealed that she'd been Lily's sole caretaker since Jessica left. No further explanation was offered, and Matt didn't press. Lily's quite resourceful, he commented, watching the girl arrange her grandmother's pills into daily compartments with practiced ease. She's my little helper, Edna said with genuine affection. I don't know what I'd do without her. The statement, meant with love, troubled Matt deeply. A 6-year-old shouldn't be responsible for managing medications or fending for herself when left alone. As he prepared to leave, protocol demanded he file a report on the situation. But was it severe enough to warrant official intervention? The home was clean, the child clearly loved, yet the signs of neglect, however unintentional, couldn't be ignored. Outside, Matt sat in his patrol car, unable to shake. The image of Lily's solemn face saying she knew how to wait when nobody came. He made a note in his report, but marked it for follow-up rather than immediate action. Something told him there was more to this story than a simple case of elderly forgetfulness. His shift had ended hours ago, but Matt found himself making one more stop before heading home, at the grocery store near his apartment. You went grocery shopping for them? Lauren Rogers looked at her husband with a mixture of surprise and admiration as he unpacked bags of simple, nutritious foods in their kitchen. Matt, that's not exactly standard police procedure. I know, Matt sighed, running a hand through his short brown hair. But you should have seen them, Lauren. The little girl, Lily, she's been making her own meals and helping her grandmother take medication. She's 6. Lauren, with her social worker's keen insight, recognized the look in her husband's eyes. In their 5 years of marriage, she'd seen it before. Cases that went beyond professional duty and touched something deeper. Tell me everything, she said, sitting at their kitchen table. Matt described the Jensen home, Edna's obvious cognitive issues, and most troublingly, Lily's matter-of-fact approach to being left alone. She said she just closes her eyes and waits for the scary to be over, Matt concluded. What kind of life has this child had that being abandoned feels normal? Lauren frowned. As a social worker for the county's Family Services Department, she dealt with neglect cases daily. Did you file a report with CPS? I made a note for follow-up, but something held me back from making it official. Matt hesitated. The grandmother clearly loves her, and you know how overwhelmed the system is. If they separate them, you're worried about making things worse. Lauren finished his thought. They were both silent, thinking of the countless families they'd seen torn apart by well-intentioned interventions that sometimes created more trauma than they solved. What if we brought them dinner tomorrow, Lauren suggested suddenly. I could unofficially assess the situation. Maybe they just need some community support, not state intervention. Matt's face brightened. You'd do that? Of course. But Matt, her expression grew serious. I'm crossing a professional line here. Technically, I should report this. Through proper channels. I know, it's just sometimes the system moves too slowly for the people who need it most, Lauren acknowledged. But am I crossing an ethical line by helping them off the record? Despite her misgivings, Lauren couldn't ignore the situation any more than Matt could. The next evening found them on the Jensen's doorstep, with a homemade casserole and fresh fruit. Edna was clearly flustered by their unexpected visit, but Lily's face lit up at the sight of Officer Matt. When introduced to Lauren, the little girl studied her with solemn interest. Are you a police officer too? Lily asked. No, I help families who need extra support, Lauren explained, carefully avoiding the term social worker that might alarm Edna. Like a helper fairy? Lily's question made even Edna smile. Something like that, Lauren laughed. As they shared the meal, Lauren observed the household dynamics with trained eyes. The interaction between Lily and Edna was genuinely loving, but it was also clear that the roles were often reversed, with Lily taking on responsibilities far beyond her years. When Lily went to the bathroom, Lauren gently asked Edna about her support system. It's just us now, Edna said, her eyes clouding. After Jessica, my niece Lily's mother, left, there wasn't anyone else. I'm all she has. And who helps you, Ms. Collins? Lauren asked softly. Edna's face registered surprise, as if the question had never occurred to her. I manage, manage? She corrected herself. The neighbors check in sometimes, and Lily is such a good girl. When Lily returned, she brought a folder of schoolwork, proudly showing Matt a picture she'd drawn. It was a police car with a stick figure labeled Officer Matt. Lauren noticed how Edna squinted at the drawing, barely able to make it out. Lily, would you show me where you keep your school books? She asked, giving Matt a chance to speak privately with Edna. In Lily's room, neat but with few toys, the girl showed Lauren how she organized her things. What struck Lauren most was how Lily had adapted to her grandmother's limitations without complaint. Grandma can't see small letters anymore, so I read the medicine bottles to her, Lily explained, demonstrating how she sorted pills into colored cups. Blue is morning, green is night. I never mix them up. The pride in her voice broke. Lauren's heart. No child should bear such responsibility. Returning to the living room, they found Matt helping Edna with a form for her prescription assistance program. The elderly woman's frustration was evident as she struggled to read the fine print. As they prepared to leave, Edna pulled Lauren aside. "You won't report us, will you? I know I'm not perfect, but I love that child more than anything. They'd put her in the system, and I've heard terrible things." Lauren felt the weight of her professional obligations warring with her human instinct. "Let's see if we can find some resources to make things easier for both of you first," she said, making a decision she hoped she wouldn't regret. In the car, Matt looked at his wife questioningly. "We need to help them," Lauren said simply, "but we're going to need to be careful about how we do it." 3 years earlier, Edna Collins had been enjoying the quiet rhythm of retirement. Her small pension covered her modest needs, and her days were filled with gardening, reading, and weekly bridge games with friends. At 73, she had made peace with her solitary life, having never married or had children of her own. Then came the phone call that changed everything. "Aunt Edna, it's Jessica. I need help." Jessica Reynolds, her late sister's only child, had always been the family's wild spirit, brilliant but troubled, bouncing from one crisis to another. But this time was different. This time, there was Lily. Standing at her kitchen window, watching the rain trace patterns down the glass, Edna remembered that day with painful clarity. Jessica arriving with 3-year-old Lily, their few belongings stuffed into 2 duffel bags. Jessica's hollow eyes and trembling hands, the whispered confession of how bad things had become. "Just until I get back on my feet," Jessica had promised. "A few weeks, maybe a month." But weeks turned into months, and Jessica's visits became less frequent, her phone calls more erratic. Then, 11 months ago, they stopped entirely. A final text message. "I'm sorry. Take care of her. I'll come back when I'm better." And Jessica vanished, leaving Edna with a child she barely knew how to care for. A sharp pain in her hand brought Edna back to the present. She'd been gripping her coffee mug so tightly her arthritic joints had locked up. With effort, she relaxed. Her fingers noticing with dismay how much worse the tremor had become. "The doctor said it might be early Parkinson's," she murmured to herself. Or maybe just age. Either way, she hadn't told anyone. Admitting weakness meant risking Lily's future. The kitchen calendar caught her eye. Another doctor's appointment she'd have to cancel. She couldn't afford the co-pay, not after buying Lily's school supplies. Besides, who would watch Lily while she went? The neighbors had grown tired of helping. Edna's vision blurred, a problem that had worsened considerably in recent months. The ophthalmologist had recommended surgery for her cataracts, but the thought terrified her. Who would care for Lily during her recovery? "Grandma, are you having a thinking day?" Edna turned to find Lily watching her from the doorway, her small face serious. Thinking day was Lily's term for when, Edna got lost in her thoughts or memories, a kinder way of describing the cognitive slips that frightened them both. "Just a little one, sweetheart." Edna smiled, pushing her worries aside. "Would you like some toast?" As she prepared Lily's breakfast, Edna's mind turned to Officer Matt and his wife Lauren. Their unexpected kindness the previous evening had been like water in a desert, both relief and painful reminder of how isolated they'd become. For months, she'd been declining invitations from her few remaining friends, ashamed to admit how much she was struggling. The Rogers couple seemed genuinely concerned, but Edna knew the risks of accepting help. A neighbor had once suggested she apply for assistance programs, maybe even consider placing Lily in foster care temporarily. The very thought had sent Edna into such panic that she'd stopped speaking to the woman entirely. "The system doesn't understand families like ours," she had told Lily afterward, though the child couldn't possibly comprehend what she meant. "We have to take care of each other." And they had been, though increasingly, it was Lily taking care of her. The child had adapted to Edna's limitations. With remarkable resilience, learning to prepare simple meals, remind Edna of important tasks, and entertain herself during Edna's foggy days. The guilt was a constant companion. Lily deserved better, deserved a proper childhood with parents who could run and play, who didn't need help reading, bedtime stories or opening medicine bottles. But the alternative seemed worse. Foster care meant strangers, potential separation, and no guarantee of kindness. I'm all that child is left, Edna whispered to herself, watching Lily carefully eat her toast at the table. If I fail her, who will love her enough to keep trying? The doorbell's sudden ring startled them both. Edna wasn't expecting anyone, and unexpected visitors rarely brought good news. With a sense of dread, she went to answer it. On her doorstep stood Matt Rogers, out of uniform but still unmistakably a police officer in his bearing. Behind him, a short, elderly woman with bright eyes and a determined expression waited. "Ms. Collins," Matt said with gentle authority, "I'd like you to meet someone who might be able to help. This is Ms. Harriet Finch, a retired teacher from Lily's school. She has some ideas, I think. You should hear." Edna hesitated, her hand gripping the door frame for support. Accept help and risk exposure, or refuse and continue their precarious balancing act alone. Behind her, Lily peeked around the corner, curiosity brightening her usually solemn face. With a deep breath, Edna opened the door wider. Harriet Finch was unlike anyone Edna had met before. At 82, she had the energy of someone decades younger, moving through the Jensen home with brisk efficiency, her silver hair cut in a stylish bob that swung as she spoke. Within minutes of arriving, she had Lily giggling. Sound so rare that it made Edna's eyes water. 40 years teaching first grade gives you a certain magic with children, Harriet explained with a wink, and retirees like us need to stick together. The us struck Edna profoundly. It had been so long since anyone had included her as part of any group. Matt excused himself, explaining he had a shift starting soon, but promised to check in later. His departure left Edna nervous, but Harriet's practical, no-nonsense manner was strangely comforting. "Officer Rogers tells me you're having some vision troubles," Harriet said, settling at the kitchen table with Edna while Lily colored nearby. "My Harold, God rest him, had terrible cataracts. Wouldn't get them fixed until he walked into the coat rack thinking it was me." Edna found herself laughing, then admitting to her fears about the surgery. "Nonsense," Harriet declared. "You'll stay with me during recovery. I've got that big empty house since Harold passed, and I could use the company. Lily, too, of course." The offer was so unexpected that Edna could only stare in disbelief. "But you hardly know us," she finally managed. Harriet's expression softened. "When I was raising my boys alone after Harold died, neighbors I barely knew brought casseroles, drove carpool, and fixed my leaky roof. I promised myself I'd pass that kindness forward when I could." Over the next few hours, Harriet helped organize Edna's medications, showed Lily a simple system for laying out her school clothes, and made a hearty stew that filled the house with delicious aromas. She worked with such natural ease that Edna found her defenses lowering. "Sometimes when Grandma's having a foggy day, I just make us peanut butter sandwiches and we watch TV until she remembers again," Lily confided to Harriet while they folded laundry, unaware that Edna could hear from the hallway. The innocent comment struck Edna like a physical blow. How many meals had Lily made for herself while Edna struggled through her confusion? How many times had this small child shouldered burdens no 6-year-old should bear? Later, when Lily was occupied with a picture book Harriet had brought, the older woman gently approached Edna. "That child adores you," she said simply. "But she needs to be a child, not a caretaker." Edna felt tears threatening. "I'm doing my best." "I know you are." Harriet patted her hand. "And now you'll do even better because you're not alone anymore." As Harriet prepared to leave, she handed Edna a card with phone numbers for herself, Matt, and Lauren, and mysteriously, someone named Dr. Chen. "My son," she explained. "Finest pediatrician in the county. He's expecting Lily tomorrow at 2. I'll drive you." Before Edna could protest, Harriet added firmly, "No charge. He owes me for putting him through medical school." That evening, watching Lily sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks, her stomach pain eased by the proper meal, Edna felt something she hadn't experienced in a very long time: hope. The changes in the Jensen household over the next 3 weeks were subtle but significant. Dr. Chen had diagnosed Lily with a treatable digestive condition, prescribing medication that quickly eased her stomach pains. Harriet became a regular visitor, often arriving with groceries or taking Lily to the park while Edna rested. Matt and Lauren continued their dinner visits, bringing not only food but information about community resources Edna might qualify for. For the first time since Jessica's departure, Edna felt the crushing weight of responsibility lighten slightly. Yet beneath this newfound relief lurked constant anxiety. How long before someone decided she wasn't fit to care for Lily? How long before their fragile support system collapsed? Her fears materialized one Tuesday afternoon when the phone rang. "Ms. Collins, this is Principal Dawson from Oak Ridge Elementary. I'd like to discuss Lily's attendance issues. Could you come in tomorrow morning?" Edna's hand trembled as she hung up. Lily had missed several days of school recently. Days when Edna's arthritis made the 6-block walk impossible, or when her foggy days meant she lost track of time entirely. That night she barely slept, imagining worst-case scenarios where stern-faced officials took Lily away. By morning, her anxiety had reached a breaking point. "We're not going to school today," she told Lily, who was already dressed in her uniform. "We're taking a special trip." "But I have library time today," Lily protested, her face falling. "And Miss Peterson said I could help collect the reading folders." Edna barely heard her, frantically stuffing clothes into a bag. They could stay with her cousin in Vermont, though she hadn't spoken to Marion in years. Or maybe head south to Florida, somewhere no one would find them, where they could stay together. "Grandma, why are you putting my pajamas in your purse?" Lily's confused voice cut through Edna's panic. The doorbell rang, sending Edna's heart racing. They'd come already. Somehow they knew she was planning to flee. "Don't answer it," she whispered to Lily. "Be very quiet." But Lily, trained by weeks of friendly visitors, had already skipped to the door. It might be Officer Matt with donuts again. Before Edna could stop her, Lily had pulled the door open, revealing not stern-faced officials but Lauren Rogers, concern evident in her expression. "Ms. Collins, Harriet called me. She was worried when you didn't answer her calls this morning." Edna sank into a chair, her escape plans crumbling. "The school called, about Lily's absences. They'll report us, won't they? They'll take her away." Lauren entered, gently closing the door behind her. She knelt beside Edna's chair while Lily watched with wide, worried eyes. "Is that why you were packing? Were you planning to leave?" Edna couldn't speak, tears of shame and fear sliding down her wrinkled cheeks. "Edna," Lauren said softly, using her first name for the first time. "Running would only make things worse, but I promise you, we can find solutions that keep you and Lily together." "How can you promise that?" Edna whispered brokenly. "I can barely see anymore. Some days I can't. Remember what month it is. I'm not fit to raise her." The admission, the fear she'd carried silently for months, hung in the air between them. Lily moved then, climbing into Edna's lap despite being almost too big for it. "Don't cry, Grandma," she said, wiping Edna's tears with small fingers. "I can help you remember. I'm good at remembering." In that moment, looking at the child who loved her despite her failings, Edna made the hardest decision of her life. "I need help," she admitted, her voice breaking. "For both our sakes, I need help." The meeting at Oak Ridge Elementary went better than Edna had feared. Principal Dawson, a compassionate woman in her 50s, listened attentively as Lauren explained the family's situation and the support network they were building. Instead of judgment, the principal offered additional resources, the school's breakfast program for Lily, transportation assistance, and regular check-ins with the school counselor. "We want to help Lily succeed," Principal Dawson assured Edna. "And that means supporting you too, Ms. Collins." Driving home, Edna felt lightheaded with relief. The constant fear of separation that had haunted her for months had begun to recede, replaced by cautious optimism. "You did a brave thing today," Lauren said, navigating the autumn streets where red and gold leaves danced in the breeze. Asking for help takes more courage than facing things alone. That afternoon, while Lily was having her weekly play session with the school counselor, therapy, Edna knew, though they used gentler terms, Edna found herself sorting through the box of Jessica's belongings she'd kept hidden in her closet. It was time to stop running from the past. The box contained little, some photos, Jessica's high school, diploma, a few pieces of jewelry, and a journal Edna had never allowed herself to read. Now, with trembling hands, she opened it, seeking understanding of the woman who had entrusted her with life's most precious gift, then disappeared. The journal entries revealed a Jessica few people had known. Sensitive, intelligent, struggling with demons she couldn't name. Her early entries sparkled with ambition and hope. She'd wanted to become a nurse, to help others. "Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning and everyone else is breathing just fine," one entry read. "Mom says I'm being dramatic. Maybe I am. But what if I'm not?" Edna felt a pang of regret, remembering her sister's dismissive attitude toward Jessica's emotional struggles. "She just wants attention," Margaret would say. "She'll grow out of it." But Jessica hadn't grown out of it. Instead, her pain had deepened, eventually leading her to unhealthy ways of numbing it. A photo slipped from between the pages, Jessica holding newborn Lily, her expression a mixture of terror and awe. On the back, Jessica had written, "The most beautiful thing I've ever made. Please don't let me ruin her too." Tears blurred Edna's already compromised vision. Had Jessica believed she would damage her daughter simply by being her mother? What lies had her depression told her? The front door opened, and Lily's voice called out, "Grandma, I'm home. Miss Harper let me bring a special game." Hastily wiping her eyes, Edna put away the journal, but kept the photo out. "Grandma, what's that?" Lily asked, spotting the picture in Edna's hand. After a moment's hesitation, Edna patted the couch beside her. "Come sit with me, sweetheart. This is a picture of your mommy, the day you were born." Lily took the photo reverently, studying it with intense concentration. "She looks like me," she whispered. "She does," Edna agreed. "She was very smart, just like you, and creative. She used to make up the most wonderful stories." Why did she go away? The question Lily had never directly asked before hung in the air between them. Edna chose her words carefully. "Your mommy has an illness that makes her very sad sometimes. She went to try to get better so she could be the mom you deserve. Is it like when my tummy hurts? Did she need medicine too?" "Something like that," Edna said. "But the kind of medicine she needs takes longer to work." Lily nodded solemnly, her 6-year-old mind processing this information in its own way. "Do you think she still remembers me?" Edna pulled Lily close, her heart breaking for both the child in her arms and the lost woman in the photograph. "Oh, sweetheart, she could never forget you. You're the most beautiful thing she ever made." Later that evening, Matt arrived to find Edna and Lily looking through old photographs, creating a memory book of their family. Incomplete, but real. Complicated, but bound by love. Watching them from the doorway, he noticed something unexpected. A small backpack, partially hidden under Lily's bed. Curiosity piqued. He knelt to look closer when Lily was distracted. Inside, he found crackers, juice boxes, and a carefully folded piece of paper with his phone number written in a child's handwriting. An emergency kit prepared by a 6-year-old who had learned too early that adults might not always be reliable. The discovery strengthened Matt's resolve. This little girl deserved a childhood free from such adult worries, and he was determined to help give her one. November arrived with biting winds and early sunsets that plunged the world into darkness by late afternoon. Inside the Jensen home, however, things had gradually grown brighter. A carefully coordinated support system had taken shape around Edna and Lily. Harriet providing transportation, Lauren navigating bureaucratic hurdles, Matt checking in regularly, and Dr. Chen monitoring Lily's health. Edna's cataract surgery had been scheduled for early December, with plans for her and Lily to stay at Harriet's afterward. The prescription assistance program Lauren had found covered most of Edna's medications, easing their financial strain considerably. Yet, despite these positive changes, Edna struggled to fully embrace the help being offered. Decades of independence made accepting assistance feel like failure. More troubling was her growing awareness of her cognitive decline. The foggy days were becoming more frequent, moments of confusion more pronounced. One particularly cold Tuesday, Edna sat in Dr. Winter's office, trying to absorb the neurologist's gentle but firm assessment. "The tests confirm what we suspected, Ms. Collins. You're showing early signs of Alzheimer's disease, in addition to the normal cognitive changes associated with aging." Beside her, Lauren, who had driven her to the appointment, reached over to squeeze her hand. "What does this mean for Lily?" Edna asked, cutting straight to her primary concern. Dr. Winters leaned forward, compassion evident in her expression. "It means planning for the future becomes even more important. This is a progressive condition, though medication and cognitive exercises can help slow its advancement." The drive home passed in silence, snow beginning to fall in gentle flurries that matched Edna's swirling thoughts. At a stoplight, Lauren finally spoke. "This diagnosis doesn't change who you are to Lily," she said softly. "And it doesn't mean you can't continue to be her guardian." "Doesn't it?" Edna's voice cracked. "I'm falling apart, Lauren. My eyes, my hands, and now my mind. What kind of home is that for a child?" "A loving one," Lauren answered simply. "And now, a supported one." At home, they found Matt and Lily constructing an elaborate fort in the living room, chairs draped with blankets to create a cozy hideaway. Lily's laughter, once so rare, filled the house as she directed Matt on proper fort-building technique. "Officer Matt doesn't know that the, blankets need to overlap," she informed Edna seriously. "Otherwise, the monsters can see inside." "Is that so?" Edna smiled, momentarily setting aside her worries. "Perhaps you should show him how it's done." As Lily demonstrated, Lauren quietly updated Matt on the doctor's diagnosis. His expression remained steady, but Edna caught the concerned glance he exchanged with his wife. That evening, after dinner, the couple stayed longer than usual. Lauren helped Lily with homework, while Matt asked to speak with Edna privately in the kitchen. "I found something the other day," he said, gently placing Lily's emergency backpack on the table. "She made this herself, didn't she?" Edna stared at the small pack, fresh shame washing over her. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I never realized she was so afraid of being left alone." "Children are remarkably adaptive," Matt said. "They learn to navigate the worlds we create for them, even when those worlds aren't what they should be." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "Lauren and I have been discussing something important. We wanted to talk to you about becoming certified as foster parents." Edna's head snapped up. "You want to take Lily?" "No," Matt said firmly. "We want to be her safety net and yours. If there comes a time when you need more help than you're getting now, we want to be legally prepared to step in temporarily. No shelters, no strangers, just a transition to people she already knows and trusts." The idea was both painful and profoundly relieving. Edna had been so terrified of Lily entering the system, but what Matt was describing was something different, a continuation of family, just in an expanded form. Their conversation was interrupted when a social worker arrived for a scheduled home assessment. Mrs. Patel was kind but thorough, asking Lily questions about her daily routine while observing the home environment. Near the end of her visit, Mrs. Patel asked Lily a question that made everyone in the room tense. "Lily, if Grandma Edna ever needed to go to the hospital, who would you want to stay with?" Without hesitation, Lily pointed to Matt and Lauren. "Officer Matt and Miss Lauren. They know how to make the scary things not so scary." The simple trust in her voice brought tears to Edna's eyes, tears not of jealousy or loss but of profound gratitude. That this precious child had found more people to love her. That night, watching Lily sleep, Edna made a silent promise. She would learn to accept help not as a personal failure, but as the greatest gift she could give her great niece, the gift of security, of constancy, of knowing she would never again have to close her eyes and simply wait for the scary to be over. December transformed Oak Ridge into a wonderland of twinkling lights and festive decorations. The holiday spirit seemed to reach every corner of the neighborhood, including the Jensen home, which for the first time in years boasted a small Christmas tree adorned with handmade ornaments Lily had created at school. Edna's cataract surgery had gone smoothly, and her week-long stay at Harriet's had turned into something unexpected. A friendship between two elderly women who found they had more in common than they'd initially thought. With her vision dramatically improved, Edna was seeing the world and her great niece with new clarity. "You've grown 2 inches since summer," she remarked one morning, realizing she could actually see the marks on the door frame where they'd been measuring Lily's height. 3 inches, Lily corrected proudly. "Ms. Harper measured me at school. She says I'm catching up from when I wasn't eating right." The casual comment, so matter-of-fact from Lily's perspective, struck Edna anew. How much had this child endured without complaint? How adaptable she'd been to circumstances no child should face. The doorbell's cheerful ring interrupted her thoughts. Lauren stood on the porch, snowflakes dusting her red wool hat, a mysterious excitement in her eyes. "We've been officially approved," she announced once inside, her voice bubbling with barely contained joy. "Matt and I are now certified foster parents." Edna felt a complex wave of emotions. Gratitude mingled with a thread of fear. The certification meant security for Lily, but also served as a reminder that Edna's role in her life might change as her condition progressed. "That's wonderful news," she said sincerely, pushing aside her mixed feelings. "Have you told Lily?" "Not yet. We thought you should be part of that conversation." Lauren's sensitivity to Edna's position as Lily's primary guardian touched her deeply. Over the past months, Lauren and Matt had been careful never to overstep, always reinforcing Edna's authority while providing crucial support. That evening, Matt arrived after his shift, bringing a chocolate cake to celebrate both their certification and another piece of news. Lily's 7th birthday was approaching in January. A birthday party? Lily's eyes widened when the adults broached the subject. "For me?" "Of course for you, silly goose," Harriet said, having joined them for dinner. "Every 7-year-old needs a proper birthday celebration." Lily grew uncharacteristically quiet, tracing patterns on the tablecloth with her finger. "I've never had a real party before," she finally admitted. "Mommy was always too tired, and then—" She didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood. After Jessica left, there had been no energy or resources for celebrations. "Well then," Matt declared, "this will be your first, but certainly not your last. Who would you like to invite?" The planning commenced with enthusiasm, with Lily gradually becoming more animated as she realized this wasn't just a dream. Ms. Harper from school, Dr. Chen's daughter who was close to her age, several classmates she'd recently made friends with. Her list grew as she allowed herself to imagine the possibility. The community that had formed around the Jensen household continued to expand. Officer Rodriguez, Matt's supervisor who had initially bent rules to allow Matt's continued involvement, now stopped by regularly with his wife, who taught piano and offered Lily free lessons. The neighbors, seeing others involved, began to engage more as well. Mrs. Peterson bringing over hand-me-down winter clothes from her granddaughter, Mr. Wilson clearing the walkway after snowfalls. 2 weeks before Christmas, the elementary school held its annual holiday concert. Lily, who had joined the children's choir, would be performing for the first time. The morning of the event, she was a bundle of nerves and excitement. "What if I forget the words?" she fretted as Edna helped her with the red ribbon for her hair. "Then you'll hum along until you remember," Edna assured her. "The important thing is to enjoy yourself." The auditorium was packed with parents and relatives when they arrived. Harriet had saved seats in the front row for their growing extended family: Matt and Lauren, Dr. Chen and his wife, Officer Rodriguez and his family. Seeing them all, There, united in support of Lily, Edna felt a swell of emotion that nearly overwhelmed her. When the children's choir took the stage, Lily searched the audience until she spotted their group. The smile that bloomed on her face when she saw them all waving was radiant with newfound confidence. As her clear voice joined the others in Winter Wonderland, Edna realized they were witnessing something precious. Not just a child performing, but a child blossoming, secure in the knowledge that she was seen, she was heard, and most importantly, she was loved by a circle far wider than she had ever imagined possible. Later that evening, as they prepared for Lily's birthday celebration, the little girl sat at the kitchen table making her wish list. Edna noticed her pause, pencil hovering over the paper. "What is it, sweetheart?" she asked. Lily looked up, her expression suddenly serious. "I don't know what to wish for," she admitted. "I never made a wish before because I didn't think wishes were for kids like me." The simple statement pierced Edna's heart. "What do you mean? Kids like you?" Lily shrugged, struggling to articulate feelings too complex for her 7 years. "Kids whose mommies leave. Kids who make their grandmas tired. Kids who have to be super quiet and not ask for things." Kneeling beside her chair, Edna took Lily's small hands in her own. "Listen to me very carefully, Lily Jensen. Wishes are for everyone, especially you. You deserve every beautiful thing this world has to offer, every dream your heart can hold." For the first time since Jessica's departure, Edna saw hope without reservation in Lily's eyes, the beginning of a child who might finally believe in her own worthiness. January arrived with bitter cold, and Lily's 7th birthday celebration. A joyous gathering of her newfound friends, complete with a butterfly-themed cake, games organized by Lauren, and more presents than Lily had ever seen. The party was a resounding success, but the excitement proved exhausting for Edna, who found herself increasingly fatigued by even pleasant activities. 2 days after the party, while helping Lily with breakfast, Edna experienced what Dr. Winters had warned might happen, a moment of complete disorientation. Standing in her own kitchen, spatula in hand, she suddenly couldn't remember what she was cooking or why. More frightening, for several terrifying seconds, she didn't recognize the little girl watching her with concerned eyes. "Grandma, the pancake is burning," Lily's voice broke through the fog. "Should I turn off the stove?" The moment passed, clarity returning like a wave washing over her, but it left Edna deeply shaken. She called Harriet immediately, after getting Lily safely to school, her voice trembling as she described the episode. "I'll make an appointment with Dr. Winters," Harriet assured her, "but I'm coming over now. You shouldn't be alone after something like that. The neurologist fit them in that afternoon," her expression serious as she listened to Edna's description. Additional tests were ordered, and a new medication prescribed to help manage the symptoms. "I need to be honest with you, Edna," Dr. Winters said gently. "These episodes will likely increase in frequency. Having a safety plan in place is crucial now, not just for the future." That evening, a family meeting was called, a term that now included not just Edna and Lily, but Matt, Lauren, and Harriet as well. Together, they created a schedule ensuring Edna would never be alone for long periods, especially when responsible. For Lily, the conversation was difficult but necessary. For Lily's part, she listened with the solemn attention of a child who had grown accustomed to adult concerns far too early. "Does this mean Grandma's brain is sick?" she asked, her small face scrunched in concentration. "Yes, sweetie," Lauren explained. "Just like some people have sick hearts or sick lungs, Grandma's brain is having some trouble. The doctors are helping her, but we need to help too." "I can help," Lily declared confidently. "I'm good at remembering things." The adults exchanged glances over her head, touched by her willingness but determined she shouldn't bear such responsibility. The next week brought another development, when Edna experienced what the doctors initially suspected was a minor stroke, though tests later revealed it was actually a transient ischemic attack, a warning sign rather than permanent damage. Still, It necessitated 3 days in the hospital for observation. It was decided that Lily would stay with Matt and Lauren during Edna's hospitalization, the first real test of the foster arrangement they had established. The initial transition was rougher than anyone anticipated. Despite her comfort with the Rogers in group settings, Lily became withdrawn in their home, speaking little and watching the door as if expecting Edna to appear at any moment. On the second night, Lauren was awakened by muffled sounds from the guest room where Lily slept. She found the little girl curled into a tight ball, tears streaming silently down her face. "Oh, sweetheart," Lauren murmured, sitting gently on the edge of the bed. "What's wrong? What if Grandma forgets me completely?" Lily whispered, her greatest fear finally given voice. "What if she never comes home? What if everybody leaves eventually?" Lauren gathered the child into her arms, feeling Lily's body stiffen before gradually relaxing into the embrace. "Your grandma might forget some things," Lauren acknowledged, believing honesty tempered with compassion was what Lily needed. "But the love she feels for you is in her heart, not just her mind. That kind of love doesn't get forgotten." Lily considered this, her analytical mind processing the concept. "But what if her heart gets sick too? Then you'll still have so many people who love you," Lauren promised. "Me and Matt, Harriet, Dr. Chen, your teachers. We're all here for you, no matter what." Lily fell silent, her small fingers plucking at the bedspread. "My mom said she'd come back when she got better," she finally said, her voice barely audible. But she didn't. The simple statement held volumes of hurt, the profound wound of a child abandoned by the person who should have been most constant in her life. "Not all promises can be kept," Lauren said carefully, "but I can promise you this. Matt and I will always be honest with you. We won't make promises we can't keep." Something in Lily seemed to release then. A tightly held breath, a rigid vigilance maintained too long. She curled against Lauren's side, exhaustion finally claiming her as she drifted to sleep. Lauren stayed, gently stroking Lily's hair, her heart aching for this child who had learned too early to expect disappointment. In the doorway, Matt appeared, having overheard the conversation. Their eyes met in silent communication, a shared commitment to being the stability this remarkable little girl so desperately needed and deserved. The following morning, something had shifted. When Lily woke from a nightmare just before dawn, it wasn't Edna's name she called out, nor her absent mother's. Instead, her cry was for Lauren, a significant emotional transfer that signaled both healing and a new chapter beginning. February brought the worst winter storm Oak Ridge had seen in decades. Weather forecasters had been warning about it for days. Heavy snow followed by freezing rain, potential power outages, and dangerous road conditions. Matt and Lauren had offered to have Edna and Lily stay with them, but Edna had politely declined, insisting they would be fine in their own home. "We have plenty of food, flashlights, and extra blankets," she'd assured them. "Besides, the storm probably won't be as bad as they're predicting." But by midnight, the meteorologists' most dire predictions were proving accurate. Wind howled around the Jensen home, rattling windows and sending tree branches scraping against the roof. Sleet hammered against the siding like thousands of tiny pebbles being thrown simultaneously. Inside, Edna and Lily were huddled in the living room, a battery-powered lantern providing their only light after the electricity had failed 2 hours earlier. The temperature in the house was dropping steadily, as the ancient heating system sat useless without power. "It sounds like monsters outside," Lily whispered, wrapped in 2 blankets beside her grandmother on the couch. "Just the wind having a tantrum," Edna replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite her growing anxiety. The storm was far worse than she'd anticipated, and her emergency cell phone showed no service bars. The towers must be down. As midnight ticked over to 1 a.m., Edna felt a concerning tightness in her chest and a strange tingling in her left arm. Probably just anxiety, she told herself, not wanting to frighten Lily. But when the room began to tilt and darken around the edges of her vision, she knew something was very wrong. "Lily," she managed to say, her voice suddenly weak, "I need to lie down for a minute." Grandma? Alarm filled Lily's voice as Edna slumped sideways on the couch. I'll be okay, Edna whispered, though the room was spinning faster now. Just need to rest my eyes. The last thing she heard was Lily's frightened voice calling her name. Matt Rogers was just finishing his night shift, the patrol car crawling through treacherous streets, when his radio crackled to life. All units, be advised. 911 dispatch reports a call from a child at 1437 Maple Street. Caller reports an elderly woman unconscious. No other details available as call was disconnected. Any units in vicinity, please respond. Matt's heart froze. 1437 Maple was Edna and Lily's address. He immediately grabbed his radio. Dispatch, this is Officer Rogers. I'm 3 blocks from that location, responding now. Fighting through near blizzard conditions, Matt finally reached the Jensen home. The house was completely dark, like the rest of the neighborhood. He rushed to the front door, but found it wouldn't budge. Lily, it's Officer Matt. Can you open the door? He called, pounding on the wood. A small voice called back, I protected Grandma from the monsters. I made the house safe. With a surge of panic, Matt realized Lily had barricaded them inside. With the wind howling and freezing rain pelting his face, he made a quick decision. Moving to the kitchen window, he broke the glass with his flashlight, clearing the shards before carefully climbing through. Inside, the beam of his flashlight revealed an elaborate barricade, a chair wedged under the doorknob, toys and books stacked in front of the entrance like makeshift barriers, a child's desperate attempt to control the chaos around her. Lily, he called. In the living room, came the small reply. Matt found them in the dim glow of a dying lantern. Edna unconscious on the couch, and Lily kneeling beside her. The little girl had placed a pillow under her grandmother's head, covered her with every blanket she could find, and was desperately trying to make her drink water from a plastic cup. She fell over while we were talking, Lily explained, her voice unnaturally calm. I tried calling for help on her phone, but it only worked. For a minute, I told the lady that Grandma wouldn't wake up, but then the phone stopped. Matt quickly checked Edna's vital signs. Her pulse was rapid but present, her breathing shallow. He radioed for an ambulance, though he knew it would struggle to reach them in these conditions. You did exactly the right thing, Lily, he assured her, amazed at the child's resourcefulness. You're very brave. Lily's composure finally cracked, tears welling in her eyes. Is it time for me to close my eyes and wait again? She asked, her voice small and frightened. The question broke Matt's heart. No, sweetheart, he said firmly, gathering her into a one-armed hug while keeping his other hand on Edna's wrist to monitor her pulse. You don't have to wait alone anymore. I'm here now, and we're going to get through this together. The hospital corridor seemed endless, its fluorescent lights harsh against the pre-dawn darkness outside. Lily sat between Matt and Lauren, her small body rigid with tension, eyes fixed on the swinging doors where doctors had taken Edna hours earlier. She'll be okay, Lily whispered, more to herself than anyone else. She has to be okay. Lauren gently stroked Lily's hair, exchanging worried glances with Matt over the child's head. The paramedics had managed to reach them despite the storm, rushing Edna to the hospital while Matt brought Lily to meet Lauren in the emergency room. When the doctor finally emerged, his expression was grave, but not defeated. Ms. Collins has suffered a transient ischemic attack, similar to a mini-stroke, he explained quietly. Combined with her existing conditions, this raises serious concerns about her ability to live independently. The words hung in the air, their implications clear to the adults, but mercifully beyond Lily's full comprehension. As morning light began filtering through the windows, a social worker approached their small group. Mrs. Patel, the same woman who had conducted their home assessment weeks earlier, sat beside them with a folder of papers. We need to discuss temporary arrangements for Lily while Ms. Collins recovers, she began gently. Lily's head snapped up. I want to stay with Grandma. I know you do, sweetheart, Mrs. Patel said, but your grandmother needs special care right now. Then I'll stay with Officer Matt and Miss Lauren. Lily stated with certainty. Mrs. Patel hesitated. There are procedures we need to follow. We're certified foster parents, Lauren interjected. The paperwork is already in place for exactly this situation. While the adults discussed logistics, Lily slipped away unnoticed. Lauren found her minutes later hiding in a supply closet, clutching Edna's sweater that someone had placed with their belongings. If I'm really good and just wait quietly, Lily was whispering to herself, maybe they'll let me stay with someone who loves me. Lauren knelt beside her, heart breaking at the sight. Lily, look at me, she said softly. You don't have to be invisible anymore. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. As Lily's small arms wrapped tightly around her neck, Lauren made a silent promise. This child would never again have to close her eyes and simply wait for life to happen to her. The rhythm of life. At the Rogers home gradually settled into a new normal. Lily went to school each weekday, visited Edna at the rehabilitation center every afternoon, and spent evenings with Matt and Lauren. Weekends included longer visits with her grandmother, often accompanied by Harriet, who had become Edna's fiercest advocate at the facility. March arrived with gentle rains and the first hints of spring, crocuses pushing through the softening earth, birds returning with their morning songs. On one such morning, Lauren collected the mail to find an envelope with unfamiliar handwriting and a Nevada postmark. Inside was a letter and a small, worn photograph of a younger Jessica holding baby Lily. Lauren read the letter twice, her heart racing, before calling Matt at the station. Jessica's reached out, she said when he called back. She's been in a rehabilitation program in Nevada for the past 7 months. That evening after Lily was asleep, they spread the letter on their kitchen table, both rereading the careful handwriting. I've been working hard to get better. My counselor suggested I write to check on Lily, though I understand if you don't want to respond. A nurse from Oak Ridge Hospital found me through the contact information I left when I entered treatment. She told me about Mom's health problems, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there to help. I'm trying to get better, but I don't know if I'll ever be the mother Lily deserves. What I do know is that I love her enough, to want what's best for her, even if that isn't me right now. Could you please let me know how she's doing? If possible, I'd like to write to her, even if just to tell her I'm okay and thinking of her. The letter was neither a demand for custody nor a promise of return, just a tentative reaching out from a woman trying to rebuild her broken life. What do we tell Lily? Matt asked, the question that had been hanging between them since the letter arrived. Lauren considered carefully. The truth, but gently, that her mother is working on getting better and wants to be in touch. The conversation with Lily the next day was approached with trepidation, but the child's reaction surprised them both. She didn't forget me, was Lily's first response, wonder in her voice. She remembers I exist. In the days that followed, they helped Lily craft a response, a simple letter with a drawing of her school and new friends, carefully avoiding pressuring Jessica with expectations. Meanwhile, Edna's condition had stabilized, though her doctors were clear that returning to independent living wasn't realistic. The conversations about long-term care were difficult, but necessary. One evening, after a particularly emotional visit with Edna, Lily sat on the porch swing with Matt, watching fireflies emerge in the twilight. If my mom gets better and Grandma gets sicker, she asked suddenly, her voice small but steady, who will I belong to? Matt's heart contracted at the question. So profound from someone so young, yet so indicative of Lily's constant fear of being abandoned again. Belonging isn't just about where you live, he said carefully. It's about who holds you in their heart. Your mom and Grandma will always hold you in theirs, no matter what happens. And now, Lauren and I, and Harriet and so many others hold you in our hearts too. Lily considered this, her logical mind processing the concept. So, I belong to lots of people now? Exactly, Matt smiled. You have a whole community of people who care about you. That's a kind of safety net. If one person can't be there for you, others will step in. The metaphor seemed to resonate with Lily, who relaxed against his side. Like a circus, she mused. If someone falls, the net catches them. Just like that, Matt agreed, marveling at her perspective. As stars began appearing above them, Matt realized they were witnessing something remarkable. Not just a child recovering from trauma, but a family being redefined and expanded in ways none of them could have imagined months earlier. Inside the house, Lauren was on the phone with Jessica, arranging the first of what would become regular video calls with Lily, carefully supervised conversations that would slowly rebuild a bridge thought permanently broken. The path forward wasn't clear or simple, but for perhaps the first time, it contained real hope, not just for Lily, but for all of them. April sunshine streamed through the windows of Edna's room at Oak Ridge Rehabilitation Center, creating golden patterns on the quilt Lily had helped select for her grandmother's bed. The space had been transformed from an institutional room into something resembling home. Photos on every surface, children's artwork on the walls, and a comfortable chair where visitors could sit for hours. Today was special. Jessica had joined their weekly family meeting via video call, her face nervous but determined on Lauren's tablet screen. Edna, whose good days now outnumbered the bad ones, sat propped against her pillows, holding Lily's. I've been thinking about what's best for Lily, Edna said, her voice frail but her mind clear. And I believe it's time to make some decisions official. The conversation that followed was one of the most difficult and beautiful they'd ever shared. Edna expressed her wish for Matt and Lauren to become Lily's legal guardians while she focused on her health. Jessica, participating from her halfway house in Nevada, supported the decision while committing to ongoing contact with her daughter. I want Lily to have the stability I couldn't give her, Jessica said, tears in her eyes. But I also want her to know I'm working hard to be part of her life in whatever way is healthiest for her. Lily, listening intently to the adults planning her future, appeared remarkably peaceful. When asked for her thoughts, she looked around at the faces of those who loved her, in person and through the screen. I think, she said with wisdom beyond her years, that families can look different than in storybooks and still be real. Later that afternoon, Lily stood in the room that was now officially hers in the Rogers home. The walls had been painted sunshine yellow at her request, and Lauren, had helped her arrange treasured possessions, her books, the special blanket from Harriet, her growing collection of butterfly figurines. On the bedside table, Lily carefully placed 2 framed photographs, one of Edna smiling in her garden from healthier days, and one of Jessica holding her as a baby. Between them, she added a new photo, herself with Matt and Lauren at the park, not replacing but expanding, not forgetting, but growing. As Matt watched from the doorway, Lily traced her fingers over each face in the photos, a small smile playing on her lips. The smile of a child who was finally learning that love could be abundant rather than scarce, reliable rather than fleeting. This feels like home, she said simply. In that moment, standing in a room filled with evening light and new beginnings, Matt knew they had all found their way home. 1 year had passed since Lily's first call to 911. Spring had returned to Oak Ridge, bringing with it cherry blossoms, longer days, and a sense of renewal that seemed to touch everyone in their expanded family circle. Lily, now 8, had blossomed in ways that sometimes took Matt and Lauren's breath away. Her once solemn face now regularly broke into spontaneous smiles. Her academic progress had accelerated once the constant worry about survival had been lifted from her small shoulders. Most importantly, she had learned to trust, not blindly, but with the cautious optimism of a child who had been hurt but was healing. Edna had settled into her new life at Willow Creek Senior Living, where she had become something of a community organizer despite her health challenges. Her room had become a gathering place for residents and their families, particularly children who enjoyed her storytelling. Though her memory continued to fade in some areas, her love for Lily remained a constant, a lighthouse that guided her through even her foggiest days. Jessica had maintained her recovery path, recently celebrating 1 year of sobriety. Her weekly video calls with Lily had gradually evolved into genuine connection, and plans were underway for her first supervised in-person visit in the summer. On this particular Monday morning, Lily sat in her second-grade classroom, unusually quiet. Her teacher noticed her discomfort and knelt beside her desk. "Are you feeling okay, Lily?" "My stomach hurts a little," Lily admitted. In the past, such pain would have been endured in silence, hidden from adults who might be burdened by her needs. But today, Lily did something remarkable. She accepted help. That afternoon, as Lauren picked her up from the nurse's office with some mild medicine for her upset stomach, Lily made an observation that captured the journey of the past year. "I used to think being brave meant closing my eyes and waiting for the hard things to be over," she said, her voice thoughtful as they drove home. "But now I know being brave sometimes means opening your eyes and reaching for help." Lauren glanced at the rearview mirror, meeting Lily's gaze with a smile. "That's a very wise way of looking at it. Officer Matt says wisdom comes from living through hard things and learning from them," Lily replied, repeating words Matt had shared during one of their many heartfelt conversations. That evening, their home filled with the now familiar sounds of their Tuesday family dinner. Harriet's booming laugh, Dr. Chen's daughter playing piano with Lily, Matt grilling in the backyard, and the cheerful chaos of the extended family they had created together. As Lily moved among them, accepted and accepting, loved and loving, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of a child who no longer needed to make herself invisible or perfect to be worthy of care. Later, tucking her into bed, Lauren noticed a new drawing on Lily's nightstand, a colorful illustration of many hands joined together in a circle, with "My family" written across the top in careful letters. "It's everyone who helps take care of me," Lily explained sleepily, "and everyone I help take care of too." As moonlight filtered through curtains Lily had helped choose, she drifted to sleep surrounded by symbols of both her past and her future, no longer waiting for life to happen but beginning to participate in it with growing hope. The little girl who once closed her eyes and waited had learned to open them wide and embrace the world that waited for her.